Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, August 23rd. The time is just before 2 p.m. and the temperature right now is around 27 degrees Celsius. And I'm here in Willowdale, and this is in North York. And this area is actually the largest urban center in the city outside of downtown. And that's a look to the south along Yonge Street. And just south of here is Highway 401, which is the busiest highway in North America. And there goes a 97 Yonge Street bus. And that was an exit from Sheppard Station, where I just emerged from. And for this one, I'm going to be heading north up Yonge Street through Willowdale. And I'll be finishing up at Finch Station. And I've always found this to be one of the more interesting urban centers in the city. It's kind of unique in that from around where I'm starting here up to Finch, we've got a bit of a high-rise corridor running along Yonge Street. And you could also consider it to be a subway corridor, but just a few blocks east, which is in that direction, and west, you'll find yourself squarely in the suburbs. And it looks like I'm not going to be able to make this light crossing here. This is Sheppard Avenue. And there's a look to the east. And line 4 runs eastward from here off in that direction. And that terminates at Fairview Mall. And there's a look to the west. And there is a plan called Transform Yonge, which I'll talk about a bit later. But that will see the left turn lanes at this intersection eliminated, at least in the north and south directions. One of the great things about Willowdale is there's such an impressive amount of bars and restaurants and other storefronts along the stretch of Yonge. And I think I'll be sticking to the east side of Yonge for this. Those left turning lanes there will be eliminated. There's another look to the south. We've got these nice big wide sidewalks here. But sadly, there's not a lot of greenery. And on the right is the Yonge Sheppard Center. And that used to be home to a movie theater, but that closed down when Famous Players and Cineplex merged. As there is another theater just to the north of here. And I think Willowdale is actually the biggest employment center in Toronto outside of downtown as well. And Yonge Street here is flanked by Beecroft Avenue on the west side. And I think it's Doris Avenue on the east. So there's a lot of high rises and condos and dense developments between Doris and Beecroft. But as soon as you go east or west of those streets, you find yourself in the middle of a sea of single-family homes. So really everything here, at least in terms of the urban environment, funnels towards Yonge Street. And what's really bizarre is between Sheppard and Finch, at least to my knowledge, there's no east-west bus routes. So this is Greenfield Avenue. And you can see things are built up for a few blocks in either direction. But you can't really go beyond that without running into single-family homes. And one thing you'll notice is there are a lot of Asian establishments in this area. There's a Kung Fu Tea right next to a Mr. Tonkatsu. There's the Union Social Eatery. And after that, we have a sushi restaurant. Tuesday, tacos, $8. Sleeman bottles, $4.50. So you're telling me for $12.50 I can get tacos and a beer? That's surprisingly reasonable. Hopefully that's not $8 per taco, which given the way things are priced these days, that seems likely.
I mean, I was only my US.
And there's a large number of Korean restaurants in this area. Someone tried to correct me in a video I did recently through Koreatown downtown, or rather just to the west of downtown, saying that this area is actually Koreatown. It is not, but it's not hard to see why someone could be mistaken and call it that. There's a KEB Hana Bank. I used to bank with KEB when I lived in Korea. I'm actually going to look up Google Maps here to see what the street to the east that flanks Yonge is called. Yes, that is Doris Avenue, so I was correct. And there's obviously a large-scale development going in just on the right here. That person should not be riding their e-scooter on the sidewalk. And there goes someone else doing it. And there's a Chipotle. I don't recall seeing that there before. But in 2020, I think towards the end of the year, City Council approved the Transform Yonge plan. And that'll start just south of where I started recording this, just south of Sheppard. And it'll run to just north of Finch. And that'll see protected bike lanes installed along that stretch of Yonge. And I'll also see traffic reduced to 2 lanes. And I think the sidewalk and streetscape will be improved in general. And construction on that is not set to begin until at least 2026. And the Meridian Art Center, which I think was built in the early 90s, is just off in that direction. There's the home of the Toronto District School Board. And one of the unfortunate things in this area is a lot of condos and high-rises sort of sprung up almost as if they exist in a vacuum. They don't really meet the street in a particularly urban way. I've heard someone call it a Las Vegas-style strip design. They all feel like these mini isolated resorts. There's a Dairy Queen and a Jack Astor's. So one of the big reasons why this is all here is that it is served by Line 1, the eastern side of Line 1 of the subway network. There's 3 relatively evenly spread out stations, Sheppard, Yonge, and North York Center Station, just north of where I am now, and then to the north of that, Finch. And they're no more than a 10-minute walk apart or so from each of them. Although Sheppard, Yonge, where I started, and Finch opened up in 1974, it wasn't until the North York Station, which is just coming up here, opened in 1987, that this area really kind of boomed and started developing. And it was around that time that City Hall was built, as North York used to be its own standalone city. And that's a look over at City Hall, or the former City Hall in Mallasma Square. They also built a large library just over there. Although, like I mentioned, unlike areas like Yonge and Eglinton, that's another major node, all the development here is north-south aligned. And that is a very cool looking motorcycle. I'm not normally a fan of those bikes, but that one looks really nice. There's that movie theater on the right that used to be Famous Players Empress Walk, but now it's a Cineplex. There's a large LCBO liquor store and a supermarket in this center here. There's also one of the city's few Wendy's locations. There's some of the newer condos that line Yonge Street. They've got a nice park space in front of them. is Empress Avenue. I am pushing my luck. Crossing late here. That's cute. They've got a symbol of a person on a bike. This is not really a cycle-friendly neighborhood. Those bike lanes are badly needed. And when I walked by Empress Walk, that's where you'd find the North York Center subway station. So I am over halfway to Finch. Shawarma Max, Tokyo Grill. That's me, hello. That's been happening a lot more lately. There is a subway expansion plan to go north of here, and that'll cut through Newton Brook. So there'll be 2 more stops in the city added to that, and then it'll go north of there. And it'll slice between Markham and Vaughan, making its way up to Richmond Hill. It's good to see something finally going up on this lot. It was a stalled development for as long as I can remember. That's 5250 Yonge Street. I was about to say, there used to be a struck tube on the right, and they have a sign saying they're moving. That's a lower cost furniture retailer. And just looking at this environment, I don't think the Transform Yonge project could really come soon enough. That's something that's been a long time coming. You basically have 3 lanes of Yonge Street superhighway on either side. No bike lanes, which is rather absurd. And an added bonus of having bike lanes is they put in another buffer between the pedestrians and vehicle traffic. And that could be a sensitive topic in this area, as this is where the very unfortunate North York van attack took place. It seems as if every time I come to this area, it's rather lively. I guess it's pretty dead on a Tuesday afternoon in the summer. Cheese Garden, modern cheesecake cafe. There's the Owl of Minerva across the street. That's a well-known spot. There's the St. Louis Bar and Grill. That cannabis retailer is called the Dama House. On the right, we have an Asian market that has popped up everywhere. H Mart. Asian grocery since 1982. There's another major grocery store. That's a Metro. The urban fabric of the area just kind of falls apart as soon as you venture off Yonge Street. One of the smart things the city has done in this area is the closer the building is to Yonge Street, the less parking that they have, and that helps drive transit usage. Also, most of the parking here is underground and out of the way. There's really nothing as offensive as a surface parking lot in a major city, at least in my opinion. And North York has it all. There's a cemetery right on Yonge Street. I think I saw 1901 as the date on one of those tombstones. And I'm not a fan of condos like this. All the retail has this cookie cutter look and feel to it. And I would imagine we'll see a lot more people on bikes once Transform Yonge is implemented. I've always felt this development is kind of interesting. They've done a really good job of cramming in a lot of retail into a small area. There's a manga fried chicken. Whenever I walk by this stretch, I'm always kind of drawn to come take a quick look around. There's an entrance to the condo. It's definitely got a bit of a hotel feel to it. Private property, pay and display parking only. So this is not a public street. Or is it? There's a sign. That guy needs to get off the sidewalk. That says Northtown Way. He just flew around that corner. It's starting to sound like one of those grumpy old men shaking their fist at the clouds. Seafood Bao pastry. I think there's been more and more Chinese and Taiwanese establishments popping up in Willowdale. It had a reputation as being kind of a second Koreatown. I think the Korean establishments are getting outnumbered these days. This is Bing Avenue coming up, and then just north of here is Finch. And there's an LRT project currently under construction to the west of here along Finch. It's amazing to think this entire route that I've walked so far, there's no bus service east to west. And this is a city that probably in North America has the best overall bus coverage by far. Not just in terms of the number of routes, but also the frequency of them. There's a Massachusetts license plate. And a GO bus rolling by. There is a GO bus terminal just to the north of here. There's O-Bar. And I thought this used to be a wing restaurant. Now it's Goal's Lanzu Noodle. There's a Hot Star. That's a popular Taiwanese fried chicken place. And another H-Mart. Those buildings up there are the North American Center. And in the mid-2000s, I used to work in that office complex. Are they really riding those big fat tire e-bikes down the sidewalk? And here's a poorly executed design. That's the Olive Square. Doesn't seem particularly inviting. And we have arrived at Finch Avenue, where you will find bus service. There's a look to the west. And on the right is a basil box. I think a few months ago I did a live stream through this area, and I went there for lunch afterwards. And here you'll be able to enter Finch Station. Taiwan Professional Tea. Half-price wings every Monday at the Puckin' Wings. Well, it's a Tuesday. After I'm done recording this, I'm gonna go home, get ready, turn around and leave. I'll be meeting a friend, having dinner, and going to see Bill Burr tonight at the Scotiabank Arena. There's the TTC bus terminal at Finch Station just on the right. There's another bus terminal just north of here that has York Region Viva buses, along with Go buses. So this is Bishop Avenue on the right and Hendon Avenue on the left. And there's a hydro corridor that runs off in that direction, and you can take that all the way over to Jane Street. I will be popping into Finch Station here. As this is where Willowdale turns into Newtonbrook. That runs between here and Steeles Avenue, which is the northern end of the city of Toronto. And if you're entering Finch Station from this terminal, you can enter through those doors there, those doors there, those doors, or you could go straight in here. I'm just going to get my Presto card out. I was reading an article earlier today that said the TTC will be cracking down on fare evaders again. I think that's an over $400 ticket if you're caught without proof of payment. It's good to see the performers back at TTC stations. They have their own designated spots. And here's the Tim Hortons. This is one of the very few subway stations that have washrooms in them. Although on several occasions they've been closed. Seems as if every time I need them. Free transfer, woohoo, they're not open, but they are open. And there's another Tim Hortons within the fare paid zone. as this is, at least for now, the terminal station. All southbound trains will be stopping on either side of this platform. And there we go. That was a walk through North York, through the Willowdale area. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below, and if you wish to support the channel, there are links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership in the description. And I have an... Looks like I'm waiting for the next train. I just came over to this side as the train was rather noisy. It's no big deal. All right, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.